Hi everyone, welcome to John's Briefs once again here at C2 Tactical in Scottsdale. Come shoot here. You'll find me here from occasionally, and come and say hi if you see me with the Baron of Barristers, Tim Forshee. Again, you should get your NFA trust from him. Absolutely, you can get that in all 50 states because it's a federal document.
Correct, yeah.
And that's cool, and he can deliver it right to your email inbox. He did that for me. In fact, my NFA trust is with Tim. We had another Brazilian fun.
Brazil, yeah.
You know, there's a Wild West down there, man. They're getting a lot of gunfights down in Brazil. Funny enough, people ask me about that all the time, and they're like, John, you know, 3/4 of your channel is Brazil. Actually, 23%.
Really? Okay. You actually analyzed it.
We do. We keep track of these things. 23% of the channel is Brazil. America is 57%. So twice as much American content and a little bit more as Brazilian content. Number 3, South Africa. Because again, the Wild West.
Yeah.
And then everywhere else kind of fills in from there. But had a guy basically roll up on his motorcycle, stick a gun in the window, and had that gun taken away by our intrepid defender who got offended, which I don't blame him, who then took his revolver and shot him with it multiple times. And I want you to watch it. And I want you to, when you watch this the first time, I want you to ask, okay, first shot, are we cool? Second shot, are we cool? Third shot, are we cool? And then we'll come back and ask Tim about them. To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. This one's out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and what has happened is this guy has come up and robbed this couple in their car and pointed a gun at him and stuck that gun inside the car. And when he does, what we're going to see is the driver of that car is going to take that revolver away from him. And as soon as he takes it away from him, he turns it on him and shoots 1, 2, and then as the guy flees off, 3 shots at him. Watch it again and you'll see it happen. And if you go read the news stories I've linked in the description, that guy was taken to the hospital. He got away initially, was taken to the hospital and did not survive. He took the asphalt temperature challenge. So here's why I asked the question, Tim, because I know people who are going to say, but wait a minute, the second he took the gun away from him, he's no longer a deadly threat.
You don't know that. You never know that. Everybody always says that, right? I mean, go back to the video that we've watched and talked about before with I think we call it the Houston Taqueria video, right? Well, the robbery's over. He's leaving the taco shop. How do you know he's not going to stop and eliminate all the witnesses in the taco shop? You don't know that.
Right.
Now, as I've said before, I wouldn't have done what that gentleman did in that taco shop. I wouldn't have drawn my gun and started shooting. I think I would have drawn my gun, maybe taken a position hopefully behind cover, not just concealment, and he would have seen the muzzle in my right eye if he turned around. You know, I wouldn't have exposed myself. And if he turned around and he saw the gun in his hand and it looked like he was going to shoot, I probably would have, done everything I could. But I don't know that I shot him in the back. That doesn't mean, however, that it was illegal to shoot him in the back, at least for the first shots. And I think similarly here, I don't know that guy isn't going to get 10 feet away and pivot and pull another gun out of his backpack. As I recall, he's wearing a big backpack.
Yep.
For all I know, he's got a submachine gun in there. I don't know. Is it reasonable to assume that a guy that just used a gun and tried to kill me might have another gun or might continue somehow to try to kill me? I think that's reasonable, at least initially, yeah.
Yeah. I certainly think in the heat of the moment, when I go, oh no, this guy wants to kill me because he's plugged a gun in my ear, then I go, oh no, and I take that gun away from him, and all of a sudden I go, I need to stop this guy.
Right.
And in that seconds of chaos, I go, there it is, bang, and I shoot him. Oh, suddenly I have a gun.
Because don't forget, you just took his gun from him. How do you know he's not going to take it back?
Yeah, and we're still in contact.
Right.
And
that
those
gun
things
is still there. There's still the presence of a lethal instrument, and you got temporary control, but as you know, you just took it from him. How do you know he's not going to punch you in the face and take it back?
It's our gun,
yeah,
not my gun in the moment. And so, yep, bang, bang. Then it kind of...
What was the time? I meant to time it and I didn't.
So from the time the guy pulls his arm back to the first shot goes off is about 1.5 seconds.
Which I'm fine with that.
Which you think about it, if I took that gun away from him and then I have to orient it into my hand and get it on him, that takes about a full second to do. So there's only a half second in there of processing time, which is pretty short.
Yeah, pretty short.
So bang, bang. Then
second
the guy
shot was a double tap, so no problems on that. Yeah, and then how long between the second and third?
About 3 seconds.
I mean, again, if that's all I got and I can't get a good offer, I think I can try to make some hay with that, but that's too long. I don't like it.
So there's where the challenge is, right? So because again, I go bang, bang, I have no problem with the first 2 shots because of that. And then though, now he kind of leans out and he's left-handed, you know, which again, if God made him that way, as he did for only the perfect ones, if you're here on Asp Extra and you see me shooting, you'll notice that I shoot left-handed because
Sinestre. We're just going to use one Latin term today.
God only
Sinestre.
makes so many of us perfect, and the rest of you he turns into righties. Which is weird. I write with my right hand. I throw with my right hand.
I've never noticed you lefty.
So the story here is that my grandmother, I was raised for the first almost 6 years of my life, actually just over 6 years of my life in my grandma's home, who worked in the rectory of the Catholic Church when I was a boy. She would not let me be left-handed. So she would smack my hands whenever I wanted to pick something up.
Yeah, exactly.
With my left hand. Under the corollary that you could not sit at Jesus's right hand in the Last Supper if you were left-handed because you would bump elbows with him. That's not a joke. That's what she told me when I was a kid. So anything grandma taught me to do, I do right-handed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the Last Supper, did Michelangelo make Judas the only left-handed one?
Yes, correct.
Yes. So there you go. Yeah.
Correct. You don't want to be Judas.
Exactly.
And so there you go. And then there was a belief there for a time that the devil was left-handed too. So yeah. Anyways, so anything I taught me to do, though, I'm left eye dominant. So when I picked up a rifle, grandma didn't teach me to shoot a rifle. My paternal grandfather taught me to shoot a rifle, and he let me shoot it left-handed because I was left eye dominant.
Only makes sense, yeah.
So then when I picked up handguns, I picked them up left-handed, and that just feels right to me. Although if I could go back to 2006 when I started carrying a handgun, I would smack my left hand and make me put it in my right because holsters and stuff are so much harder to find.
That's true. Yeah.
But anyways,
Plus all the guns are set up for right-handed shooters, most of them. It's better now, but certainly.
Yeah, it's
I mean, you can set the magazine release with your index finger, but yes.
An added complication.
Yes.
So back to our guy, he leans out left-handed. So I think I can make an argument that says because, if he's right-handed, which I'm going to assume he is, that this is additional processing time, that what he's doing is being careful and trying not to endanger bystanders.
And that could be. Non-dominant hand shooting definitely takes longer.
So he's leaning out non-dominant hand and taking an aimed shot, and he's not considering whether or not it's the wisest thing to do. So he's still feeling that threat and that fear.
That's a good point. I hadn't even noticed that, but that's a very good point.
But now, wait a minute. That's me trying to explain it to a prosecutor.
No, but I mean, if the guy is right-handed and he's shooting, that's my point, is that's why you'd be my expert witness, because you'd come up with that and I would have missed that. That's a great idea. I guess the one thing I'm concerned about when I watch this video is you can't see downrange. I don't know what's going on down there. I don't know if this guy stopped and turns and starts charging back again, or because he was on foot by that point and mortally wounded probably. Although for all we know, the third shot was the one that killed him. I don't know that, but I wish I could see the whole scenario because I don't know what's going on down there. Maybe the third shot was completely justified. Maybe he was about to get into somebody else's car and kidnap some other woman. I mean, I don't know what's going on downrange.
So what you hear from that is how important the facts are.
Yeah, true.
And how important the little details are, because what would the defendant say? Why did you fire the third round? Now, if he's dumb enough to say to the police, well, that guy had just done that, and that son of a gun, he wasn't going to do that to me, and I was going to screw it. I wanted it to go right up his butthole.
He wasn't getting away with that.
Right. He earned it, and I was going to butthole check that guy. Nah, you're going to have trouble with that. Right. But if instead you go, man, he just robbed me, and I was sure he was jumping into that next car, and he was going to hurt somebody else, and I had to shoot him a third time. No problem.
Because he was still up and running and he still looked like a threat to me. So
it's a great reason not to make a statement to the police immediately afterwards. Because
I always tell people when we make the statement after days or hours after we make the statement, it's a statement that I've listened to, that I've helped you prepare. I'm not going to ask you to lie.
No,
but we can tell the truth in a certain way that is helpful versus you blurting out things that you thought were true that weren't, or you telling the truth in a way that was unhelpful. That's why you wait for the lawyer.
In fact, the lawyer cannot allow you to lie.
No.
In that statement.
It's called suborning perjury, if I know that, yeah.
He gets disbarred and sent to jail for those things. Yeah. So that would be bad. But to help you to craft, is that what you really believe? Was there any of these reasons? What was the real reason behind what you did to let you have that logorrhea and work through it? And then come to, well, I guess at the end of the day, because here's an interesting part of that. I'm going to make an analogy here, and I think this one, you've been married for how many years now?
29.
29.
Coming up on 30.
Yeah, Laura and I have been married 30 years, just celebrated 30 years. And we had a little thing of, you get these little marital disagreements. They happen. Like my wife and I have raised voices at each other 2-3 times in 30 years of marriage. But, we have little disagreements. And the funny part is that, I did this thing and I expressed to her that I was frustrated about it. And then she got frustrated about me being frustrated. And then we tiffed a little bit, right? And then I come back and it took me a little while. It took me probably a good, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours. So I went and worked out. And then when I got done at the gym, I came back and I said, hey, I was really thinking about it. And this was why what I really was experiencing emotionally. This is why I said what I said. And she was like, oh, I guess that makes a lot of sense to me. And that helps me to understand what's going on inside you. So thanks for that. So this is how adults handle disagreements, right?
See, the way Shannon and I do is we just don't speak. We haven't spoken in almost 17 years. Okay.
Doesn't
we're still married as far as I know.
I mean, as far as I know, I haven't gotten any paperwork. So, but my point is it took me a few hours to kind of come to some understanding. Why did I do what I do? Right. So originally I was like, oh, I'm just frustrated about this.
In other words, if you blurted it out then,
yeah,
it's a much different story than you honestly gave 2 hours later.
Yeah, I got several hours later of
catch
thought
the analogy
and
there,
concern.
guys. Yeah.
And so, and in a defensive gunfight, having a couple of sleeps for your brain to process everything that happened, and then for you to be able to go, well, why did I really do that? Well, this is what I remember, and this happened here, and I did this because. Those kind of things are really important, and having a good criminal defense attorney to sit with you and process, because you can, again, not lie. We don't want you to lie, but you can process things with a criminal defense attorney, and they can go, that was an interesting statement you just made.
For instance, I'll give you an example just generically, is that what I typically do is I say, okay, tell me what happened. And I shut up and listen. I don't interrupt. I don't take notes. I just listen. Then I go, okay, do me a favor, start at the top and tell me again slower. And then I take notes and I don't interrupt. And then I say, okay, tell me a third time. And then I interrupt with questions and make notes in my notes. After that, I feel like I've got a pretty good flavor about what's going on. You're telling me a consistent story. Now, if I find inconsistencies, that raises my antenna. But typically I don't. Typically it's a pretty consistent story. They'll remember details, but they're not changing their story. Then I will say, okay, so here's what I think the statement that we're going to give to the police if we don't want you to get indicted should look like. What I would suggest is we don't mention that. You don't lie about it. If the officer asks you about it, you either refuse to answer or you answer honestly, but you don't lie. But we're not going to bring it up. We're not going to throw that out there for the officer, okay? Because I don't think it necessarily helps you. And we sort of whittle things down. We're not going to lie. We're just going to present the right part of the story in the right way. I think that's what any good attorney should be good at to help their client. Because my goal, again, is not to win the trial. My goal is to keep the charges from being filed or to get the charges dismissed or to get a very, very favorable plea bargain as early as possible to get you back into your life and out of jeopardy, literally out of jeopardy.
Well, and I want you to recognize that 3-second shot. I'm going to tell you, when the prosecutor gets a hold of that video, and they will, because it's out there on the social medias, then guess what? They're going to look at that and go, it doesn't look so hot, or a lot of them will. Right. Now, some of them won't. There are some, depending on if you're in Florida under, Grady Judd, and, he goes, you come here to our county, people are armed in our county. All right, if you got that, sheriff. But if you're inside city limits, you got to deal with the chief of police, you got to deal with the head of their district attorney, whoever that is. But my point is that, they're going to probably look at it much more dimly. And so, if you can, avoiding that third shot, unless it was really justified. Now, of course, what's back behind that shot? If you missed that shot with your offhand, one-handed leaning out the car door, well, you know what's behind it, right? It's a bus full of nuns and orphans.
Of course, always.
It's always a bus full of nuns and orphans. So, you don't want to hit the bus full of nuns and orphans. This is not true. Usually, thank God, big world, small bullets.
Right.
But you don't want to take that chance.
And there's nothing more tragic than an innocent bystander getting hit.
Yeah.
God forbid killed, but
God
hit
forbid.
at all. So, yeah.
And so, you don't want to go through that, right? So listen, when it's our gun and we're fighting over the gun, bang, bang, I got no problems with that whatsoever. Just be careful with that, you son of a, so-and-so, I'm going to get you.
You're going to have to justify every shot. I think what we're both saying is the first 2 shots are pretty easy to justify.
Pretty easy.
Third one starts getting really hard. And when things get really hard, it's better not to do them generally. So, yeah.
And again, if you can articulate, well, he was trying to get into that next car.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Or he had turned and he stopped and he made eye contact with me and he started charging back. I mean, again, we can't see downrange.
Cool.
Okay.
Right.
At that point, that makes it a lot more defensible. How are we going to prove that? Is there video? Do you have another witness? Or is it just your word against the dead guy's word?
Right.
That gets hard too. So.
Well, and I think if you have that articulation, this is why he said he did it, and you don't have any argument that he didn't otherwise, then okay, that starts to be a pretty good argument. Yeah. That starts to be pretty reasonable.
If nobody heard the tree fall in the woods. So,
yeah. So okay, prove. Again, as a prosecutor, it's up to you to prove not him to prove it is, and so maybe that makes good sense. But if it's again, I'm going to prove to that guy who he is. I think it just goes back to if you're using your firearm as a shield, no problem. You start using it as a sword. If you use it punitively, and you got problems. Use it protectively, no problems at all. And you just want to keep that in mind.
That's even a philosophical concept. I mean, hugely, right? I mean, it's a shield. It's not a sword. I mean, I think if you're prudent in today's society, if it's legal for you to do so, you should be armed. I think that's called taking care of yourself and the people you care about, and maybe even me or John. But if you're looking for the opportunity to use it, if you get up every morning, well, man, I hope today's the day. I hope I get to be. I can just imagine the headlines.
I wish an
now.
MFer would.
That girl's going to think I'm so cute if I'm a hero. And I say people, no, don't carry a gun. Okay, because that is completely the wrong mindset. That is not. It is passive and defensive at all times. And granted, there's a time and a place for controlled violence, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about avoiding those situations if they're at all avoidable, and they almost always are.
Well, and I think, to me, I hear sometimes from some people, and they go, well, John, the criminal justice system is a mess, and it's just jamming up good people, and you just shouldn't even carry a gun anymore. I disagree. I disagree completely. The vast majority of cases that you see are, no, this was clearly justified use of deadly force. The prosecutor looks at it and goes, yeah, that's self-defense. Have a nice day. And you don't got no charges. You don't end up with any problems. You got a lawyer to kind of help you through the system.
Oh yeah, you're alive.
Yeah, and you're alive and everything's good. And if it's the last resort and you got no choice, use it. Use deadly force if it's the last choice you have. If you or somebody you kiss goodnight is going to die if you don't,
stop it.
Stop that threat. Do it all day long. I carry a gun everywhere I go because I might need to defend my life, and so I carry it.
And when you have this conversation, you have to then say, but don't forget, it can be a liability. It is a deadly weapon. And if you misuse that deadly weapon, it's going to be a lot worse than misusing an electric stapler, I promise you right now. So there is a risk to that. You've got to be honest about that. But to me, having spent over 30 years on the risk-benefit analysis there, clearly the benefit outweighs the risk.
Sure.
Again, assuming that you're properly trained, and I guess I would say, who is properly trained? Get trained as much as you can, as much as you can afford time and money. You get trained from good people. And you eliminate a lot of that. Plus, that makes my job easier if you've got 15 or 20 classes in the last decade from really reputable instructors with great with great knowledge. That makes my job so much easier because a lot of people say, well, that makes you look like you're wanting to get into a gunfight, like you're training to be a murderer. And I'm like, I hope prosecutors are stupid enough to say that. I just hope they are, because what separates the raw recruit that just graduated from the police department from the captain in charge of the SWAT team is education and training, period. And to show that, I mean, I hope a prosecutor tries to pull a fast one like that, because then I know I win the case, because the jury's going to see that they've been lied to.
Yeah.
So
well, and listen, it's like getting in a car. When you get in a car, you accept the liability that if you misuse that power, then you're liable for it. And if you do egregiously bad stuff with it and wrong things with it, well, then you can expect to face charges for that and have civil liability as well. Same thing. You choose to carry a gun, and I do. So Tim does. I think, most of my friends do. Not all by any stretch, but a good number. That you then accept the responsibility of it. And that means using your firearm. And this is why I say all the time, there is a legal standard, and that's a minimums, right? Because if you don't do that, then you eat government-funded baloney. Right. And you live in a state-sponsored gated community and fight off unwanted butt sex, and that's bad. Okay.
Just say what you mean, will you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the reality of things. I'm not making light of prison rape. It's real, and you don't want to engage in it, right? But the standard of being good, sane, sober, moral, and prudent is higher. And if you meet this standard, that I'm a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person, you'll never worry about this standard of legal, because you will always be above that board, right? And that's the same as, my cop friends who are trying to pass their pistol qualifications. I go, be excellent. If you're excellent with your pistol, then you'll show up to qual day and you'll be like,
this is no-brainer.
This is dumb. Like, what are we doing here? Hey, can I do it blindfolded?
I get so many cops that their goal is to pass the qual.
Yeah.
That's their goal. I'm like, that should be the absolute minimum threshold that anybody should be able to do with no prep. I should be able to say, hey, we're going to go out and shoot a qual right now. And you should say, great, no problem.
The as-post pistol qual is not even a sobriety test. It is,
but sadly, a fair number of people have a hard time passing it.
It is, it's a, public intoxication test. Like, if you're not egregiously drunk, you should be able to pass that test.
Well, it's way better than our old CCW requirements were. I'll give you that. But,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I would say if you can't pass the AZ post qual, you really should not be carrying a gun.
I agree.
So, let alone a cop.
I agree. But yes. So anyhow, I think that idea is use the firearm in responsible ways, right? And understand that if you don't, then there's going to be some challenges with that. I think in this case, I don't have any problems at all with the first two. Those are just easy. The third one, I think we could make an argument. It depends on the articulation, and because of that, be cautious with those things.
On the big channel, I know John talked a lot about tactics. We typically don't do that in here because that's not my expertise, but I've taken a lot of these classes as well. And I will tell you that if you don't know anything about preventing weapon takeovers or accomplishing weapon takeovers, that's an area in your training that you should fill up, because that's if they get the drop on you, so to speak, and the first time John realizes I've got a gun is when it's right here.
Oh boy.
You're not going to outdraw that. But I'll bet you that his action time is going to defeat my reaction time, and he can get that gun moved this far before I can pull the trigger. And you have to have confidence in that and practice that and know how to do that, and make sure, obviously, you're using an inert gun, a red gun. Make sure you keep your finger out of the trigger guard when you're practicing these, because you will break your finger slicker than snot. I've seen it happen.
And get good instruction on this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of traditional martial arts where some guy stands here like this and sensei does 47 moves. Bing, bang, bang, pow. While he stands there with the gun out is pretty extreme. But if you get good instruction in this arena, you realize simple, fast, and full throttle really matters a lot. And then learning how to practice that with a partner and not hurt each other, and where you can do it at a 2 or 3 speed-wise out of 10, but you can still do it with malevolent intent and still do it without giving it up, was really good. So lots to learn from this one. Thanks, Tim.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks to you, John.